Now, the US, speaking of the US, is a step closer to banning TikTok after the House of Representatives passed a bill which requires the Chinese owner ByteDance to sell its stake in the company within a year or be barred from operating. Now, of course, there is great concern about the foreign influence and security with the social media app, particularly when it comes to kids and public officials. Politicians, public servants, etc., have all been banned from having TikTok on their phones here in Australia. It seems pretty clear to me that TikTok is basically a Chinese surveillance device designed to rot the brains of young Westerners and thus boost the power of China. This is one of the best explanations I've seen about this from 60 Minutes in the US.
It's owned by a Chinese company called ByteDance, and Harris says the version that's served to Chinese consumers, called Douyin, is very different from the one available in the West.
In their version of TikTok, if you're under 14 years old, they show you science experiments you can do at home, museum exhibits, patriotism videos, and educational videos. And they also limit it to only 40 minutes per day. Now, they don't ship that version of TikTok to the rest of the world. So it's almost like they recognize that technology is influencing kids' development, and they make their domestic version a spinach version of TikTok, while they ship the opium version to the rest of the world.
The version served to the West has kids hooked for hours at a time. The impact, Harris says, is predictable.
There's a survey of preteens in the US and China asking what is the most aspirational career that you want to have. And in the US, the number one was influencer.
Social media influencer.
And in China, the number one was astronaut. Again, you allow those two societies to play out for a few generations, I can tell you what your world is going to look like.
I think it's pretty damn clear. I mean, Evelyn...
Although the influencers world would look hotter.
Well, it might look hotter, but it would also be dumber. But Evelyn, the thing I worry about is, and generally I would be against any kind of control like this. I don't believe in banning outlets and whatever. But the difference here is that we are talking about a Chinese business, and we know the links between Chinese business and the CCP. They're essentially sending out a piece of software that the CCP, China, is using to subvert power in Australia. Why would we allow that foreign influence here?
Look, I think there are two issues here that, it's either one or the other. I don't know if it can be both. But the first issue is freedom of speech. Human rights, ability to access. It's the same of what we were talking about before. And so I am adamantly pro people being able to access information. But I guess on the other hand, it is worth a conversation about national security. And it is worth a conversation about whether this falls into the branch of freedom of information and speech, or whether it's an issue of national security and things like that. I don't know enough information to be able to conclusively say which one it is more than the other, but based on the principle of freedom of speech, I don't think it should be banned. But I will say this, I think that it's important to recognise that most of this is a parenting issue. Why are the government having to tell parents to do their job? Why are parents allowing their kids to go on it if parents know? Perhaps this falls in that category.
I don't disagree with you on that point, Kel.
The free speech issue applies to adults. This is targeting children. This is targeting people whose brains are not developed.
That's a parenting issue,
it's giving them parenting is not as simple as that. It's not a simple black and white thing. And with smartphones, kids go to their bedroom and do what they want to do. Or they look at their friends' smartphones and do what their friends want them to do. So it's parenting, making the parents exercise control over the kids' screen time is really very, very difficult. And so what goes on those screens, if it comes from a communist government, which is trying to do what you can always trust communists. They will always...
Remember,
they won't hear everyone over the sound of backpedalling over there.
They will always behave like communists.
So are we saying Chinese propaganda okay for adults but not for kids?
What are we saying?
Because we've gone from saying that it's okay to show terror attacks, but entire social media platforms should be banned.
Hang on,
So
so-
I'm pretty confused. Right
I was consistent, Joe.
You were
Let's give me
consistent.
that. Thank
You're
you.
very good at it.
Okay, so are you saying you support Chinese propaganda being allowed to proliferate?
No, I'm saying inevitably there are.
Joe is against freedom. Come on.
I'm very, very pro free speech, and I've lost plenty of skin in the cause of free speech. But again, free speech does not extend to national actors deliberately trying to undermine your democracy, and I think there's, the degree to which you would do that is problematic. So say you could just ban it from children. Anything that adults can get access to, children will one way or another get
That's
access
a
to.
parenting
Unless you
issue.
lock them in the box and never let them have any friends or never let them have any technology, sooner or later they will get to it. I promise you they will, and maybe you've developed a formula. In that
Joe's
case,
right.
write a book.
Joe's right.
And also,
talk to you
not only
after
that,
the
if you
show.
say you're not allowed to watch this until you're 18 or whatever, that just makes kids want to watch it
Just
more.
very quickly,
So-
we've got 30 seconds before the break, but Freya, I know you use TikTok. How would you feel about a TikTok?
I think at the moment we don't have enough transparency around how algorithms operate for any social media company. So I think that's the first thing we need to do. We need to enact laws that actually create transparency. But I would say that because we have no idea how they're working and we've got kids spending hundreds of hours on this platform, we should look at removing the CCP influence from the app.
I fundamentally agree.